Are you having a hard time making a tough decision that could affect the rest of your life and finding your success? Then look no further. I have the perfect episode for you. Just stay tuned until after the music. You're about to listen to a great episode of the Laz and B Experience podcast. Within this episode, my hope is that you obtain something that will help you find your success. So grab a pen, get your paper, your favorite snack or drink, and really listen to what I have to say. I truly believe it can be what you need to get you to your next level in life. So grab a seat and enjoy the ride, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to another episode of the Laz and B Experience podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm super excited about this episode, like I am all my episodes, because I feel like this specific subject or this specific topic can really help a lot of people when it comes to figuring out what their next steps are going to be in their life or on their journey to their success. But if you couldn't tell by the title of this episode I will be talking about how to make tough decisions, or at least how to making tough decisions a little clearer for you when you're in that situation. But before I get into those ways or get into that advice, I do want to start my episode like I start all my individual episodes, and that's with a little story time. So about 6 months into my current job, I was contacted on LinkedIn about another job opportunity very similar to the one that I currently have at my current job. And they were offering me more money to do basically the same thing I'm doing at my job. And then it was also going to be a remote job, so I was going to also be able to work from home. Now, this isn't the first time where I was contacted on LinkedIn for a job very similar to the job that I have now, but this was the first time where I actually decided to go through the interview process, and not only go through the interview process, I ended up getting a job offer from this other company. Now, for me, the reason why this was a tough decision was because of a few things. Number one, I was really just getting used to working at my current job. I was getting used to the routine that I created for myself because I'm currently still in school working on my working on my degree to get my bachelor's in electrical engineering. So having a good routine, having a steady routine is something that I need in order for me to be successful so I can finish my schooling. And then I also really enjoyed working with my coworkers. And then unlike a remote job, I was working with people and looking at them like in person, not just virtually. And I like that aspect of working at a job. Number two, like I said before, this is going to be a significant pay raise, but my current job also offers tuition reimbursement, which, like I said before, I am in school. So that would have been, at that time, that was a big benefit that I took advantage of. Number three, I really don't like working from home. For me, working from home, there are a lot of different distractions, one being my bed. So I try not to, if I can help it, work from home, even though my current job do allow me to work from home if I wanted to. But I decided to go into the office because some people from our office work from home for various different reasons. But there are people that work at the office still. And I enjoy going to the office. I like to have my home and my office, or my work, just to keep those things separate, and I can come home and not think about work, where if I work from home, it's kind of all jumbled together. And even if I'm not working, I'm thinking about work because it's right in the next room. Or if I'm at work, I'm thinking about not working because my bed is in the next room. So I try to keep those things as separate as possible. Now, some people might say, well, if you work from home, you can save money on gas. But if you're working from home, you're spending more money on electric bill. So it's kind of just switching where you're spending money at. So I don't think that's really a big saving when you're saying I'm working from home. And number 4, at the time, I was feeling very guilty of leaving a job, just working there for 6 months after they spent time training me, spend time showing me how everything works, and again, making this routine so I can kind of be successful at this job as well as be successful while I'm going to school. So I really didn't want to, at the time, I felt like, because eventually I want to own my own business, and I was put myself in their position where I wouldn't like it if I hire someone, because eventually I would have to hire someone, and I trained them for 6 months and then they just left and they went off to another job, for whatever reason, and now I have to start that whole process over again, trying to hire someone else, trying to train them and do all that kind of stuff. So I was putting myself in their shoes and how it would make me feel if someone quit just 6 months into the job. But then I had this conversation with my family, because I like to talk to my family whenever I have tough decisions like this, because I like to see and get other perspectives. And one thing that I got from that conversation with my family was that this company, and pretty much any other company, because they're a business, will have no problem firing you if they need to fire you. They don't care about your bills. They don't care about your responsibilities. They don't care if you're going to school. They don't care what's going on in your life. If you're not doing what they want you to do within their business, they will quickly get rid of you and hire someone else. So I put that into perspective, and that kind of helped me figure out, it helped me realize that my last point of me feeling guilty wasn't really a valid point at the time of why I should stay with my current company. Now, in the end, I did weigh my pros and I weighed my cons, and eventually I did make the decision to stay with my current company for various reasons. And then because I stayed, they ended up giving me a raise for staying, but it wasn't as much as the other company was offering, but it was enough to keep me there, at least for now. Now let's get into how you can also get through making tough decisions that can and will affect your future success. Now, making tough decisions can be hard for a lot of us, especially when it comes to a point in our life where making that decision will have a big impact on our life. This can range from deciding to go to college or not, or if you decide to go to college, what college to go to, or what major to major in. If you want to start a business, the risk of starting that business, or if you want to decide to move to a different city or to a different state, and you don't know anyone that lives there, or you never lived there before. These decisions can be hard to make when you're trying to figure out what you want to do for the next part of your life. So I'm here to help make those decisions a little clearer with my 5 ways at looking at tough decisions. Now, understand that using these ways or any other way could make making a decision a little easier, but it doesn't necessarily make accepting the decision easy, if that makes any sense. Let me say that one more time, just so I can get it, so you can get it. Understand that using these ways or any other way could make making a decision a little easier or make it a little clearer for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean accepting that decision will be easy. Now, for example, let's say after you make the decision that you want to start a business and leave your well-paid, well-insured career, and you're confident in the decision that you made, but now accepting that you're now going to be no longer making the salary that you made, you no longer be going to be getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or however you was getting paid. You're not going to have the insurance that you had before. Could be a whole nother challenge. So Just keep that in mind as I go through these 5 ways I believe can help making a tough decision clearer. Maybe not always easier, but make it clear of what you want to get out of it. So let's get started with those 5 ways. So let's start with number 1. So number 1, know your morals. And then when I say morals, I'm not just speaking religious based. Well, it can be religious based, but it's not always just about religion. Now, what are your non-negotiables when it comes to your personal life? And this is referring to friendships, to romantic partners, to work, to any kind of relationship that you may have that is affecting you in any sort of way. So some examples of morals that you may have include telling the truth, having courage, keeping promises, treating others the way you want to be treated. These are all different types of morals that you might want to keep, or examples of morals that you might want to live by as you're moving on with your life. What are your standards of behaviors or belief concerning what is and is not? It's not just about what is, but what is not acceptable for you and people you associate with. And I think that's very important to understand, because it's not just about what you believe in or what you go by or what you live by. It's also about what the people that you associate with and what they believe and what they live by as well. Now, if you don't know, this is a great time. If you don't know like your morals, or you might have morals like in the back of your head, or like in your subconscious or whatever, but if you're not like regularly thinking about them, this will be a great time to kind of make a list of all the morals, at least some of them that you want to continue to live by and make decisions based off of. And if you don't want to write it down, at least have it in your head. So when you're in that decision mode, or you have to make these tough decisions, you can have that kind of in your head for you. Now, for me, when it comes to morals, the only wrong way to go by making morals or living by morals is if it involves hurting other people. That can be physically, that can be emotionally, that can be financially, that can be spiritually, any kind of way where you are intentionally hurting someone else. I feel like that is the only kind of caveat when it comes to making or living by moral. Everything else, I don't think there's really a right or wrong way to go by it. Now, when it comes to morals, they are important because they are used to protect life, including your life, including other people's lives, and to respect others. Now, when it comes to decision making, your morals will guide you to what you should and shouldn't do. Now, it doesn't make it easier for you to make that decision, but it should help you move in the right direction when you're trying to make the right decision for yourself, for your business, for your family. So that's number 1, know your morals. Moving on to number 2, which is kind of similar to morals, is know your goals. What are the things that you want to get out of life, or your career, or your relationships, or anything else that you have in your life? Knowing your goals is one part of finding the success that helps guide you to the next steps you need to reach them. Let me say that one more time. Knowing your goals is one part of finding your success that helps guide you to the next steps you need to reach them. Now, if you don't know your goals, or if you don't have any goals, you should definitely have them written down somewhere. You should, whether it's in your phone, like in the notepads in your phone, or on paper, on stone, whatever you write it on, you should be writing down your goals. And it can be short-term goals, they should be long-term goals, they should be all those type of goals, because these are the things that, again, gonna guide you to reach the steps and reach the path that you want to take in life. Now, when you're writing these goals, they should be for all parts of your life. So they should be about the career that you want to have, the family that you want to have, both like if you have a partner with kids, and if you have siblings and your mom and your dad and your grandparents and all that kind of stuff. It should be goals for your finances. Should be goals for legacy building within your family, for all the types of goals that you need within your life to be successful in whatever success looks like for you. You should have goals to reach them. Now, like morals, they will guide you to what you should and shouldn't do, but again, they won't necessarily make it easier for those decisions to be made, but it will make it clearer. And that's one thing I do want to make sure that I keep saying throughout this episode, is that making tough decisions for a lot of us won't be easy, but I do want to make it clear on what decision you should be making. Just like going to the gym, we all know we should be going to the gym or doing some kind of activity to make sure we're healthy, make sure we can live to the next day, make sure we look good. But it's not always easy to go to the gym or do the exercise or play that sport or do whatever it is to be successful health wise. So I do want to make it a point that I want to help make making tough decisions clearer for you, but it might not necessarily make it easier. And as you use these tips or any other tips that you use, hopefully it can become easier for you, because you understand the outcomes that will happen when you make those those tough decisions. Which leads me to my third point, which is understanding potential outcomes. Now, when it comes to outcomes, you want to think about both the positive and the negative outcomes, because with outcomes, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. So you want to think about all the potential things that could happen. Not only do you want to know the positive and negative outcomes for yourself, but also for the people who will be affected by your decision, or at least immediately affected by your decision. So if you're going to be quitting your job to start a business, you don't want to just think about yourself and how it's going to affect yourself, especially if you have a family. You want to also think about your family. If you have kids, you have a wife or a husband or a partner, whoever, you want to think how it's going to affect them and what changes they're going to also have to make in order for you guys to be successful with that outcome. Now, this is going to help you prepare for multiple scenarios that could happen based off your decision. So it's not just good to understand them, but also to prepare for them. And when I say prepare for them, I'm not saying you have to make a 10-step or 50-step plan on every scenario that you think could happen. It's just think about what could happen if I do this, both good and bad. If I start this business, it could fail. And if it fails, what I'm going to do if it fails. If it's good and I make a lot of money, what can I do to continue to make it successful? And just have those things in the back of your head. So if those things happen, or when those things happen, you can have something you already know, like how you want to go forward with it. Now, this could not only help you make tough decisions, but also help you with the next steps after the decision has been made, if you need it. Like I said, having those things in the back of your head, you can really, it will really help you, guide you as you're making those decisions and you're seeing the outcomes, and you want to make sure that you make the right decision after you get the outcome. So if you see that you started a business and it's failing and you're not making any money within, like a year, you might want to pivot to another business. You might want to stop that business and start another one, or go back to working your job or another career. Those decisions or those potential outcomes you should have in the back of your head, just in case those things arise. Now, let's move on to number 4, which we kind of talked about a little bit, which is who will be affected. Like I said, I talked about this a little bit in number 3 when understanding potential outcomes, but I do want to get a little deeper into who it will be affected and how you go about dealing with people who will be affected. Now, when I said this before too, if you really just want to think about the people who's going to be immediately affected by that decision. Now, for example, I gave you one example before, but let's do another example. If you have to make the decision to, let's say you have to fire someone, let's say you're a manager or a supervisor, or you have your own business and you hire people, and now let's say you have to fire someone on your team because they're not performing the way they should be performing. You want to think about how that decision is going to affect the person you're firing and the rest of the people on your team. I would say those are the main people you want to focus on. Now, it may sound cruel the way I'm saying this, but I'm trying not to be as cruel. But you don't really want to think about people who are not immediately affected by your decision. And for me, that would be people like that person's spouse or their kids and that kind of thing, because it can have you making the wrong decision. Now, some might argue that those people will be immediately affected by your decision, because if that person gets fired, then that's an income that they won't have, that they have to figure out how to go about getting that income back. But that they're not immediately, for me, they're not immediately affected because they're not on your team. They're not making your business any better or worse. Now, like I said, it sounds a little bit cruel, but if you want to make the right decision, you just want to focus on how it's going to affect the people who are, again, immediately affected. Now, of course, you can be compassionate, and you should be compassionate for those people who are not immediately affected, but again, it shouldn't sway what you believe is the right decision, which in the example, which would be to fire that person who is not performing well in your business. Because if you keep that person who's not performing well in your business, then it's not just going to affect that person, it's going to affect your business, and it's going to affect the people on your team, because it might bring low morale, as well as might stunt your growth for your business, which means you will make less money, which means you might eventually have to fire more people. So it's better for your business, because that's what this example is about. It's better for your business to fire just one person than potentially have to fire more people or even close your business. Now, I said this already. Of course, you can have compassion for those who may not be affected by your decision, but it shouldn't sway your answer. That's why this is considered a tough decision. Now, knowing who will be affected will also put you in a position where you can potentially help them with their next step. So with that example of you having to fire someone, maybe you know different skills that they have that they are great at that can help them find a different job that they might do better at. And you might even have connections that they can go to for them to find a different path, or at least help guide them to the next path. And understand it's going to be okay, or it is okay, when your decision is not liked by other people, because no one decision, at least not that I know of, is liked by everyone. So you have to make sure you're making a decision that is right for you and potentially those immediately affected by it. With that, we will move on to the last point for today of making tough decisions, which is ask a trusted advisor or mentor. Now, first off, this should be someone you truly trust their opinion of and believe they want the best for you. Of course, you don't want to go to someone who don't like you or don't see the best for you or don't want the best for you, because of course those people are not going to give you advice that you're looking for. Second, they should not be making the decision for you. They should be a soundboard that can help you and guide you to the right decision. But at the end of the day, you should be the one making the decision. You should be the one that 100% thinks that decision that you're going to make is for you, because it's going to affect you. And also let them know that as well, because some people get really offended if you don't take their advice after you ask for it, especially if you ask for it multiple times or more than one time. Because some people, like, if you keep asking for my advice and you're not taking it, why should I keep giving it to you? And the thing is, with advice, that's exactly what it is. It's advice. It's not the right answer. It's not, maybe not the wrong answer, but it's just what it is. It's advice. So sometimes some people might give good advice. Sometimes people might give bad advice, and it might not be bad advice. It might just not be the advice that is good for your current situation. So definitely let them know that I very much value your opinion and your advice, but sometimes it might not be what is right for me at this time. Make sure that they know the whole story as well, or the whole situation, and not just the parts that you want them to hear, so they can give their honest opinion. Because of course, if you just give them the parts that you want to hear, they're going to most likely agree with the decision that you want to make. But if you give them the whole story, they might have a different perspective. They might have been through that situation. They can tell you what they did to get through it, and that might be better advice than what you wanted to get from it if you just gave them your part, or just the good part that you want them to hear. And then lastly, you want to be open to all perspectives, and don't just try to convince them to think your way is the good way, or agree with what you want to do. Because what's the point of asking for their advice if you're just going to try to convince them to agree with you? You might as well just go with your decision. So tell the whole story. Be open to listen to all perspectives, and go from there. Now, take everything with a grain of salt. And remember, at the end of the day, the decision that you're making is going to affect your life and not theirs. As a mentor or as an advisor, is not really going to make a big difference on what decision you make, unless they were somehow involved in the situation that you're asking advice for. So they're going to give you what they think is the correct way to go, and then they're going to leave it to you to make that decision. And hopefully they're not upset, and they won't get upset if you don't choose their advice. But again, it's up to you if that's what the direction you want to go, because again, it's not going to affect them. It is going to affect you. And those are my 5 ways I think will help you make tough decisions. So I hope you enjoyed it. But before I let you go, before you end this episode, I do want you to get involved in my challenge of the week. So I've been doing this season with all my individual episodes, and I really hope it's been helping you, or challenging you, or helping you get to your next stage in life. So with this week, there are 2 things I think you should do. So number 1, first, take some time and really, I talked about both of these things already throughout this episode. So number 1, I want you to take some time and think about your personal morals that you live with on a daily basis. And I want you to write them down. And I know in the episode I said you can write them down or keep them in your head, but my challenge for you is to actually write them down, whether it's on a notepad in your phone, whether it's on a journal that you keep somewhere that you can easily access, so you can continually go over these morals for yourself, so you can have them kind of in your head and have it second nature. So when you're in a situation where you have to make a tough decision, those things are already in your head, and you can kind of see what is the clear answer you should go with. Number 2, I want you to take some time and think about your personal goals in all areas of your life. And they can be short-term goals and long-term goals. I think you should have both, but it can be either or. And I highly, again, recommend that you write them down somewhere and keep them where you can easily access them. Because for me, I like looking at my goals. I might not look at them every day, but maybe every week. And it depends on what type of goal. If it's a long-term goal, I might look at it every week, every other week, or something like that. But if it's like a short-term goal that I want to accomplish within the next week or the next month or something, I definitely make sure I look at it every day so I can know what I'm doing for that day to accomplish that goal. So I would definitely highly recommend that you have both short-term and long-term goals written down for you, so it can again help guide you when you're in the predicament or in a situation where you have to make these tough decisions. Now, I want you to do these two things because I honestly think that if and when you're faced with tough decisions, these should be two of the first things that you reference when you're trying to make the correct decision for yourself. Because again, the decision that you're making is going to affect you in your immediate family that you live with or that you have. So you want to make sure that the decision that you're making is the right decision for you and them. And with that is the end of this episode. I do want to say thank you again for listening to this episode. I hope it really helped you. I hope these tips, this advice can help you when it comes to your next decision that you have to make for yourself. Again, thank you for listening to another episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. I really hope that you gain something from it that you can use to help you along your journey to your success right now, not just in the future, but right now. Now, if you like what you heard today, please please share, comment, and subscribe so I can know that you're not just listening, but enjoying the content. Now, if you have questions about this episode, if you have comments that you want to make, topic ideas, or even guest ideas that you think would be great for the future, please don't hesitate to email me or contact me on social media. But my email is lazenbyexperience@gmail.com. My comments are always open, as well as my DM, so you can also do it that way. Seasons 1 and 2 are also available on all platforms, so you can listen to those right now as well, and that's including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere else you might listen to podcasts, and that can be found at the Lazenby Experience podcast. Lastly, before I let you go, for the readers who like to read, I have a blog that covers every episode of this season, every individual episode of this season. So episodes like today will be available also on my blog, where it can be found at lazenbyexperience.wordpress.com. And within my blog, I also have articles from season 2, as well as articles from before I started a podcast. So there is a lot for you to read if you enjoy reading. So again, thank you for listening and taking the time out to listen to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. And as always, until next time, let's say it together. Continue your journey until you reach your success. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. I really hope you were able to receive valuable information that will help you take actionable steps to get you closer to achieving your goals. If this is true for you, I would really appreciate it if you share this episode with others, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to continue receiving updates on new episodes. I truly am excited about how my experience, the Lazenby Experience, can make a difference in your life. Again, thank you for listening to the Lazenby Experience podcast, and until next time, continue your journey until you reach your success.